Hi, welcome to the FilmCrop channel. Today I'm going to tell you about a 1997 criminal detective film called LA Confidential. Please support me with a like and a comment. That way you can help the channel grow. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Bud White works as a police officer and has a good record. Police Captain Dudley Smith respects him and thinks he is a reliable cop. Ordinary evenings pass for Bud while Police Sergeant Jack Vincennes, who works in the narcotics department and for the local Hush Hush magazine, brings some caught Mexicans to the station. One of the Mexicans provokes a police officer and a fight ensues. Both Jack and Bud are involved in it. Ed Exley, a private policeman who has been assigned by Dudley to look after the station while he is away. Ed is against the scuffle and he threatens to write about it in his report. He gets locked up. One of the reporters takes a picture of the fight and an article comes out the next day. The police committee calls the participants in the incident. Bud doesn't crack, but they suspend him and take away his police badge. Ed Exley, ready to come clean about everything, and asks that the perpetrators of the mess be punished and sentenced to jail. Captain Dudley defends Bud, telling Ed that he will get the hatred of the whole precinct for being outspoken. Jack declares that he is not a snitch, but after a few words from the captain, he says that he will do everything at the next hearing. Ed Exley is promoted to detective lieutenant. The committee needs someone like him. Bud meets Captain Dudley at a coffee shop. Dudley says he's glad he didn't snitch on his partners and offers him the job the attorney gave him. A string of murders of local gangsters, Cowan's associates, begins, and is reported in the newspapers. Lieutenant Exley receives a report of a murder at the Night Owl Cafe and goes to investigate. While inspecting the crime scene, he discovers the brutal murder of the entire staff in the restroom and turns to Dudley, saying that it is now his case. But the captain explains to him that this is not what he wants and that he will not get this assignment, but will only be his deputy. They head back to the crime scene together, and it turns out that one of the murdered men was Mick Stensland, already a former police officer. He was kicked out because of the incident with the Mexicans. Bud arrives at the hospital. During the lineup, he recognizes the girl he saw in the car with a broken nose, and when he asked if she was okay, she said yes. But now he sees her dead. Captain Dudley gathers all the cops to deal with the incident at the cafe. Everyone is tasked with finding these killers. Bud goes to Mr. Pierce Patchett, the man he saw with the dead girl that night, and finds out where he was when the murder took place. It turns out that Pierce looks for girls who look like movie stars and gives them plastic surgery if necessary to sell them. This was the reason why the girl's mother could not immediately recognize her daughter. Bud visits one of Pierce's girls, Lynn Bracken, and tries to find out the truth. Lynn shares that Pierce takes care of them and doesn't give them drugs. She also notices that Pierce wants to bribe him to get rid of unnecessary questions. When Bud leaves, he accidentally asks Lynn out on a date, but immediately says it's a mistake. The investigators find a car with 3 shotguns and cash inside and meet Ed and Jack. Together they break into the apartment and apprehend the 3 dark-skinned men. At the station, Captain Dudley says that the shell casings match those fired at the Black Owl Cafe. To get a confession, the captain sends Ed. One of the suspects denies involvement in the murder, but turns in a man named Roland, who provided drugs for Jones and Fontaine. One of the suspects is the killer. One of the detainees, a young guy, pees his pants and swears he didn't kill anyone, he just wanted to have sex for the first time. Ed realizes that this is about some girl. He goes to the second suspect and tries to find out who it is and if she's alive, but he doesn't answer. Bud, being outside, snapped, breaking the back of his chair in anger, and bursts into the interrogation room. Pushing the suspect against the wall with a revolver pointed at him, he gives up the girl's whereabouts. Bud, the captain, and all the officers go to the given address. Bud approaches the house, opens the door and goes inside. There he sees a naked, tied-up girl with traces of blood. In another room, Bud sees the man who has been abusing the girl and kills him with a shot to the heart. He sets up the murder as self-defense, shooting the joint and putting a revolver in the murdered man. Ed is not happy with the situation and tells Bud that no one will believe it. In the evening, Ed and his partner break into the apartment of the guys they let go, and during the shootout one man manages to escape. Ed runs after him. The suspect runs into the elevator, but it doesn't close in time, and Ed stops the elevator from closing with a shotgun and fires. He kills the fleeing suspect. Everyone at the station congratulates Ed. For his 7 years of spotless service and bravery in the line of duty, he is rewarded with a high award. One of Pierce's henchmen gives dirt on the judge, how he has been fooling around with one of the girls, namely Lynn. Now the judge is forced to change his mind. One evening, Officer Bud goes to Lynn's house. She has been waiting for him to knock on her door and they make love. At a social event, Jack and his partner Sid from the magazine give the young guy an assignment to pretend to like the district attorney. Sid guarantees that the prosecutor will invite him to a room and they get all kinds of illegal activity. While Jack is waiting for the guy at the bar, he decides to visit him in his room and finds the guy with his throat cut. Meanwhile, Bud is frank with Lynn. He says that Ed shot the wrong guys. They weren't the ones who killed people in the bar, but there's no way he can prove it, thinking he doesn't have the brains for it. Lynn backs him up. Bud goes to the medical examiner and there he learns that one of the victims was Susan LaForts. He arrives at the victim's mother's house and discovers that the man she was dating was the police officer who was found dead in the Night Owl Cafe. The victim's mother tells him that they often climbed under the house. Once there, he discovers an already decomposed body. From the paperwork, it turns out that the body belongs to a certain Meeks, Pierce's driver, whom he met with the victim. At the same time, Ed learns from the medical examiner that Bud is not so dumb and he went to see the victim's mother. Ed goes there, too, and on a tip from the landlady takes the corpse to the station. And there he asks Jack to keep an eye on Bud and asks if he's sure the Negroes killed people in the Night Owl. Ed wants to see the case through and asks for Jack's help. They decide to finish each other's business together. At the bar, Bud meets one of the tipsters and with a little threatening he learns that Meeks had access to a large drug base and just escaped. But Bud doesn't believe it. While Bud is lounging with Lynn, Jack and Ed see it through the window and think he's not as dumb as they thought. Ed arrives at Lynn's house to get answers to questions he has, but a setup awaits him in his place. Lynn makes out with him and Jack's newspaper partner takes their picture. Jack comes to see Captain Dudley to find out more about the former Minx cop, but unexpectedly Dudley kills Jack and before he dies he gives the name Rollo Tomasi. The next morning, Dudley announces Jack's death and that he was found in the park, but the body appears to have been transported. He gives the assignment to find the killer and personally asks Bud for help. They go to Jack's partner Sid. During the interrogation, Bud learns of Jack's request to take a picture of the officer and Lynn together. Bud is infuriated by this and pulls down a chair and drops Sid. Grabbing his keys, he heads to the trunk of the car and discovers the photos taken. Bud arrives at Lynn's house to find out the truth. Lynn informs him that she wanted to help, for which she gets slapped in the face by Bud and he leaves in a rage to visit Ed. Bud shows him their picture of him having fun with Lynn. A fight ensues. After a while they calm down and Ed tells him that he made some inquiries. It turns out that Minx, Dudley and Dick have been working together for a long time. And Dick killed Meeks, and was himself killed in the Black Owl. Captain Dudley's men planted shotguns in the car to throw off the trail. Ed and Bud decide to finish the investigation together and bring Dudley out in the open. They go to the district attorney and ask for a wiretap on Dudley and Pierce's phones, but the attorney refuses them on the grounds that Dudley is a law-abiding and decorated officer. Bud takes the attorney by force to get to the truth and the attorney admits he was set up in a dirt on him. The district attorney reports that the guy Jack found in the room dead heard everything and that's why he was killed. Dudley and Pierce want to take over Mickey Powan's organization and because of the dirt he couldn't make a case against them. Ed and Bud arrive at Pierce's house but find him murdered with a suicide note saying that he killed Jack because he exposed his pornography scam. They find out that it's more likely Dudley is covering his tracks and it doesn't look like suicide. Bud goes to talk to Sid, but finds him dead. At Jack and Ed's meeting, a shootout ensues. After a string of murders, Dudley is left behind. He enters the house and starts shooting at the guys. They are at gunpoint. Dudley says he is Rollo Tomasi, the one who always gets away with it. Bud and Ed are already onto him. At the crucial moment Bud takes a knife and stabs Dudley in the leg and he kills Bud. Now Ed has him in his crosshairs and Dudley immediately starts bribing him, saying that he will be in charge over the detectives. Dudley seems to have succeeded in paying him off and walks toward the driving police with his back to Ed. Dudley gets shot in the back. At the interrogation, Ed talks about the investigation. That the 3 Negroes were not involved in the murders, only in the kidnapping and rape. The killers were Los Angeles Police Department criminals, one of whom is Police Captain Dudley. The purpose of the murders was to eliminate another policeman. The Night Owl murders were the reason for the return of 25 pounds of heroin. Captain Dudley took control of organized crime because of which there was systematic blackmail and murder of the girl. Dudley confessed all of this to him, naming him Rollo Tomasi. After which Ed killed him. From this whole story, Dudley is made a dead hero because of the lack of direct evidence. Ed Exley is rewarded with an award for bravery and is made the new captain. Ed meets up with Lynn, they walk up to the car together and we see Bud alive. It turns out the bullet went through his cheeks. Ed thanks Bud for his help. Bud and Lynn stay together and head for Arizona.